Commissioner Ott, I believe you have the next
Thank you, Mr.
subject.
Chairman. You all have a copy of the PowerPoint. I put them in at your seats. So this is just the annual year review of the previous years, how the year went at the Truist Park and the Battery. Next slide. And if you have not been out there, that sign is now up. It is purple. It is very purple. All right, so just kind of a review of, you all have seen this slide before. This was the original projections. The overall investment was going to be $372 million by the Braves and $300 million from the county. And you see the percentages. The actual cost of the stadium was a little bit higher, and all those additional costs were picked up by the Braves. Next slide. And this just kind of goes over in 2013 what the projections were as to where the money was going to come from. We've already talked about the $14 million and the $10 million, which were one-time contributions, and then the local annual contributions, what they were anticipated to be, for a total of $17.9 million. And then in 2015, those were revised. All the numbers, as you can see, well, some of them went up, but the big one that went down was the reallocation of existing revenue, and that mainly at that time was due to the favorable bond interest rates that the county received on the bond. Next slide. Okay, so some of the revenue highlights from last year. Property values, and we talked about this each year that we've done this, that the values on the property as they went from construction status to operational, that the values would go up. But so far the property values have risen at the Battery from $5 million in 2014 to $552 million in 2019. And all of that was a result of the Braves development. Excuse me. Revenues have also reached an all-time new highs in 2019, and we're going to go over each one of those. All right, so this just is kind of a recap of the revenue increases. Just kind of as a reminder, Cumberland Special Service District number 1 is a $3 per night per hotel room. You can see the 2015 estimates for each one of these and then what the dollar values have been over the years. Cumberland Special Service District number 2 is that 2.74 mils property tax on the commercial properties in the Special Service District, and then rental car tax and hotel motel tax, everybody's familiar with. Not all of the Special Service District number 1 money is used for stadium debt. And as you're looking at this slide, if you look at the total, you'll see that it says $3,619,277. Those numbers are actually from the previous year because of how the county budgeting works and the money is allocated. But the actual allocations, the $1.6 million for debt, $600,000 for police, and the $619,277 to Cobb Travel and Tourism, and then the $800 for the circulator was how the money was, that money was allocated. Next slide. These are tax and fee types, and these are all from the Braves and the Battery. You can see the sales and use tax, and then the liquor by the drink, the occupancy, which is the hotel motel, and then the tourism fees, and then the portions of those tax. So if you look at the sales and use tax, that's the full 6%. So the county's portion was a little over $4.5 million. The Board of Ed got $2.7 million, and you can all see those numbers there. Next slide. Okay, this slide shows basically the trend of the general fund property tax money that went towards the stadium debt. As you can see, it's gone down. The reason for the spike in 2017, that was the first full year of stadium debt. Now, the other thing to point out is that the $4.2 million, and we're going to talk a little bit about it here in the next couple slides, that includes the $800,000 for the circulator and the $600,000 that went to Cobb Travel and Tourism. So that number would be smaller if those numbers were not included in there. And as we've talked about before, the circulator is actually paid for by the $3 hotel fee. But when we sat down, Bill and I, we put it into that number right there. Next slide. So this right here is a breakdown of the government costs. So the debt service, as we talked earlier, is just a little over $22 million. The capital maintenance, which will go towards any capital maintenance that is done on the stadium, is a little over $1.2 million. You can see the cost of public safety and the pedestrian bridge, and then the insurance, for a total of $24,876,981. Contributions coming from the Braves, you have the lease payments of $6.1 million, and then the property taxes paid by the Braves on the battery is a little over $1.8 million. And then the taxes that they pay as part of the Cumberland Special Service District is $541,000, for a total of $8.5 million coming from the Braves. And then you can see the money, the different property taxes, the hotel. Now the difference between the 2.2 million for the Special Service District and the 3.7 is basically the money from the circulator and Cobb Travel and Tourism. So you can see that there's a total of $16 million that comes in and is applied towards the debt, and that covers the debt. Next slide. These are additional revenues, contributions coming to both the county, the Board of Ed, and the state. For the county, directly from the battery, you can see the fire district fund and the debt service funds. Combined, it's about a little over $650,000. Business licenses just under $190,000. And then liquor by the drink is right around $600,000. And then we talked about the sales tax already. The SPLOST is 2.7. So about a little less than 4.2 million coming from the battery to the county tax revenue. For the Board of Education, this is directly from the battery also. You have property tax revenue of 4.1 million, and SPLOST is the 2.7, the same as the counties. So you got a little less than $7 million going to the Board of Education. And if you keep in mind, they do not have any expenses associated with this. So you can see that the total going to the county and the Board of Ed. And then the state of Georgia gets just under 11.9 million. So a total of about $23 million. And that is just for the stadium and the battery. That does not include the halo effect or anything like that. This is just those two entities. Next slide. So some of the things that the Braves have done in the community is they hosted a prom for more than 100 special needs students. And we talked about this last year, they invested in the county STEM curriculum and gave some teacher grants. They provided welcome folders. I'm not going to read all of these, but you can kind of see some of the stuff they've done here for the community. Next slide. All right, also some other things that they've done kind of more related to baseball. They had 176 teams played in the Cobb County for Braves Country Championships. They've the use of 6 parks, rental and maintenance fees, umpire fees, hotel nights, and then 140 teams from at least 50 miles outside of Cobb, and brought in about $176,000. Next slide. Okay, so some of the stuff that's coming, and you know, each year it's been kind of exciting because we talk about the numbers that we had from the previous year, and then we continue to be able to talk about stuff that's coming. Good Game, which is going to be opening very soon. Faux East and River Street Suites, they all actually just opened, and if you've been to Savannah when you go to ACCG and you've been to River Suites, it's the same place. The TK Tower, it's going to top out in early April. What's kind of really interesting about that, it is a 24/7 continuous pour, and if you go out and look at it, it's literally just this, looks like a box that continues to move up the concrete tower. And it's was set up so not to disturb the local residents. There's a lot of padding and insulation, but literally they're pouring 24/7. And the tower, I mean, pretty much like if I'm gone for a couple days on a trip, I can come back and it is a noticeable height difference. American Spirit Works Distillery and event space will be opening in late spring. A loft at the Battery, which is a hotel, will open in the early summer. Park Bench, which is a restaurant that's going to have dueling pianos. And it's going to be right there next to Gio's Chicken. That's going to open in June. Savi Provisions and Silver Spot Cinema will open in midsummer. Savi Provisions is similar to an REI. And Silver Spot Cinema, besides just, it's not just a movie theater, it also will have like Metropolitan Opera performances. You'll have the ability to eat there while you're watching the performances. This is all down in Block C, or with the part that's down by 41. And then there'll be some more tenants coming throughout the year. No, there's not going to be a Panda Express. I'm sorry. Yes. Next slide. All right. So that's pretty much the update. You know, and if there's any questions, I wanted to do these two together because when Kim and I talked about the fiscal impact of the Cumberland CID, obviously the stadium is part of it, so it's kind of like you got the big picture for the Cumberland area with Kim's presentation, and then we kind of narrowed down to just the battery and the stadium.
All we need now is, we got the All-Star game next year.
Yes, we do.
All we need now is the 2020 World Series. And I believe the chairman made a campaign promise that we would have a World Series this year.
Call me on it.
You better talk to the Braves.
They're working on it. You know, they
Yeah.
they had their first spring training game yesterday,
I'm ready.
and so they'll be ready. Opening day, by the way, is April 3rd, so get your tickets.